This is the ultimate playbook to getting out of spam for good. The goal of this video is to provide the most comprehensive playbook on the internet for getting out of spam fast and for free. This is everything that we know about deliverability from working on it for the last 6 years. Now, if you don't trust me quite yet, that's fine. We have worked with over 150 e-commerce brands and sent over 7,000 emails. We have generated over $30 million from email alone and sent to over 200 million inboxes. We've also had clients that were on Shark Tank and struck a deal with Mark Cuban, and we've worked with people like Dad, who is pretty famous in his own right. Here's some additional results: $2.7 million from email and $1.3 million from email from both of these accounts. Just a quick disclaimer, these are not the above mentioned brands. Now, how is this video structured? There's a free checklist in the description. Go ahead and check it out right now. This video is a how of that checklist. This entire video breaks down to an internal standard operating procedure that we use for our clients. We spend a lot of time and money to make this. It's ordered chronologically, day 1, then day 2, so on and so forth. At the end of the day, this is an airtight system. If you do this, you will have great deliverability. So we're going to start with day 1, the foundation. Are you ready? Let's get into it. The truth is that most people completely overcomplicate deliverability. The way that I see it, it's an email report card. Let's just imagine you have 3 people that go to your inbox and they take positive action. Your deliverability goes up. Positive action is opening, clicking, sharing, responding. The same is true in reverse. If you have 3 people that take negative action, deliverability goes down. That's unsubscribing, marking as spam, not opening, not clicking. Now, how does deliverability work? It's an email report card, and it really is just providers trying to figure out 2 things about you. 1, can we trust you? 2, are you providing value to your recipients? With this airtight system, we're going to show you how to do both and skew the data in your favor. Now, that is a key takeaway that I want you to remember as you watch this video. Skewing the data. If we have 3 people that we're sending emails to and we have 2 people that we know are going to take positive action, we should send them an email. If one of them is going to take negative action, we don't have to send an email to them. We can delete them. We do not have to play a fair game when it comes to deliverability. And so why should we? I'm going to show you how to make sure it is a game that is in your favor. So with day 1, first thing you're going to do, open up Klaviyo to run an audit. The way you do that, you click on analytics, then deliverability. Once you open up that dashboard, you're going to get a number. In this case, it's 86. If you're anywhere in this red box from 0 to 89, watch this video. If you're between 90 to 100, go do something else. You could do something better with your time. So, audit done. Next, you're going to be setting up authentication. Have you ever gotten an email like this? This message might seem dangerous. That's what Gmail's telling me. Well, if you look here, we have Kim Williams, who's a US soldier who has a lucrative business for me to invest in for $5.5 million. Isn't that exciting? This is why we authenticate. At the end of the day, the email providers want to make sure you are who you say you are, and they don't know the difference between you and Kim Williams. So there are 3 types of authentication. There's SPF, DKIM, and DeMark. The reason I'm mentioning all 3, even though only one of them apply to you, is because you're going to have a lot of people on the internet say you need to set up all 3. If you're on Klaviyo, SPF and DKIM are both set up already. DeMark is the only one you need to worry about. So this is how you set that up. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is check to see if you have a DeMark. So you're going to open up the link on the checklist right here. This is going to be a DeMark checker and put in your domain. Go ahead and check the DeMark. At the bottom here, you can scroll down and see whether or not you have a active DeMark record. If you don't worry. Go ahead and open up your domain provider and head to the DNS records. Now in the notes section here of the checklist, you're going to copy and paste this. Go back to your DNS records, press add new record. For the option, we're going to choose TXT. For the name, we're going to do _DeMark like this. And then for the value, we're going to go ahead and paste that in and hit save. Boom. And just like that, you can now see that the record status is valid. Next, you're going to be checking the reply to address and making sure that that matches your domain. What is a reply to address? If you ever open up an email, that little box right there that says, when you send an email back to this person, this is where it's going. That's your reply to address. We had a client who had this not matching their main domain, and it took us 2 weeks to figure out that this little thing was causing the entire problem. I haven't seen anybody else mention this, but as soon as we changed this, the results of that account skyrocketed after the fact. So when you're matching the reply to, match it to your domain. If your domain is myshop.com, then your reply to address should be example@myshop.com. And this should be the same exact domain as the links that you're sending. To adjust your reply to address, click on the menu right down here, then click on account, organization, and then adjust the default sender address right here. Next, you're going to be setting up spam protection flow flow filters. A flow is just an automation. Now let's just imagine that you have an abandoned checkout. Somebody added something to their cart and then they dipped, and you have a filter for buyers. So you have this little guy that receives email number 1 and he doesn't buy. He has email number 2 and he thinks, you know what, this is actually pretty interesting. Well, since we have that filter for buyers, if he goes and buys, he's going to get filtered out and no longer receive email number 3. Now, this same exact thing can be used for people who have malicious intent against our deliverability. In this case, we're filtering for what I call Karens, right? So if we have a Karen filter, are we going to send Karen email number 1? Heck no, we're not playing a fair game. We are going to filter Karen before she even receives a single dang email from us. So how do we do that? You're going to set up Karen spam flow filters, pulling out all the Karens from every single automation. The 3 that you're going to add to every automation is going to be bounced email 0 times over all time. I'll explain that later. Marked email as spam 0 times over all time, and clicked email to unsubscribe 0 times over all time. These are all and metrics. If they've done any of these, they will be pulled out. To set up your spam flow filters, click on flows and then open up your flow. Then from there, click on the trigger. Over here on the right-hand section, you will see the profile filters that you currently have. We're going to press edit. Go to the bottom, press and then select a condition for what someone has or has not done. Then we're going to choose the first metric of bounced email 0 times over all time. Then we're going to rinse and repeat that process for the next 2. Marked email as spam 0 times over all time, and then unsubscribed 0 times over all time. And then you'll rinse and repeat this process for all of your flows. Now, following this, you're going to turn off every flow except your data skew automations. Now, if you're like any email account, usually you're going to have all of these beautiful automations set up. Welcome series, sunset unengaged, abandoned checkout, site abandonment. That's awesome. I'm glad you have these all set up. But if you're dealing with deliverability problems, you're going to turn them all off except for these 3. Welcome series, abandoned checkout, and customer thank you. Yes, turn off every other flow. Why? Simple. We are trying to skew the data in our favor. We are judged by every single email that we send by Gmail, Yahoo, AOL. So let's be judged by our best performers to bring up the average until we no longer have deliverability issues. Next, you're going to turn off smart sending on each of these automations. Now, what is smart sending? Let's just pretend that you have this little guy over here. He just abandoned a checkout, but you're getting ready to send a Black Friday campaign. One situation is you could send him both, but that's a bad thing because that's how people mark as spam in the first place. We don't want to do that. So we have to create a hierarchy so that he receives the emails that are actually relevant to him. So in this case, the most relevant email would be the abandoned checkout. So we want to set up this hierarchy so that the abandoned checkout gets sent and not the Black Friday campaign. How do we do that? With smart sending. Smart sending is a filter that says if there's another email that's going out, check for that first before sending this email. In this case, it would look like we turn smart sending off on the abandoned checkout and then we turn smart sending on the Black Friday campaign. Very simply put, smart sending off is king. That is the one that always gets sent. If there is smart sending on and there's a competing email that will send within a certain time frame, usually 5-6 hours, then it will not get sent. You're going to go to flows and then click on the flow that you want to turn off smart sending for. Open up the first email and scroll to the very bottom and then make sure that it says skipped recently email profiled, that this is unchecked. We're going to turn on smart sending for all of the campaigns, creating that hierarchy. To turn on smart sending for your campaigns, what you're going to do is pull up campaigns and then go to the next campaign that you are planning on sending. Whenever you open this up, there's going to be an option right here that says turn on smart sending. We want to make sure we have that on. Now, moving forward, the goal is to hit the metrics that Klaviyo recommends, especially on opens, consistently moving forward. Klaviyo is going to give you a ton of different key metrics that you want to hit. Here are all of the ones, so that way you're at least aware of them. Open rate, these are people who open your emails, 33% or higher. Click-through rate, people who click on your emails, 1.2% or higher. Bounce rate, emails that are returned, they're invalid because maybe they typed in a letter wrong or they just put in a fake one, less than 1%. Unsubscribe rate, people who opt out to leave, less than 0.3%. And then spam complaint rate, people who mark you as spam, less than 0.1%. We're going to cover exactly how to skew all of these in your favor, but I at least want you to be aware of what the numbers are that they are looking for. Next, you're going to warm up your domain if it's brand new. This is a caveat. If you've already been sending emails, don't worry about this. But if it's a brand new domain, you're going to warm it up. Warming up a domain is the process of gradually building up a reputation. So if you're just starting to send emails, stop here. We need to build up a reputation gradually. You're going to pause at this section for 2 weeks and then continue. At this point, you should only be sending welcome series, abandoned checkout, and customer thank you. That's it. Day 2, we're going to dial in your automations. First thing you're going to do is add a welcome series discount to the email not on the confirmation page. Let me explain. Whenever you have a welcome email, that is whenever somebody signs up for a pop-up. So it looks like this. Somebody goes to your website, they get a pop-up. They think, wow, this deal's really interesting. They put in their email. After they put in their email, we have two options. One, we could give them the discount at the end of that pop-up and say, thanks so much. Here's the discount. Or we could say, hey, thank you so much. Go check your email. The discount is in there. We want to do this option, telling them to open up their email. Why? The welcome series is one of the highest open rate emails that you have. In my opinion, this is the single easiest way to get feedback to Gmail, Yahoo, etc. that people want your emails. Here's two examples. One, this is one of our clients, welcome email number 1. Their open rate is 57.6%. This client has 70.9%. Imagine if we just put that at the end of the pop-up. People would have no reason to open up this email, but instead we're skewing the data in our favor by doing this. Very simple. Second, you're going to split test your subject lines to all of your remaining flows. How do split tests work? Let's just imagine that you have a list of 100,000 people and you're wanting to split test two different subject lines, a green and a blue subject line. So what you would do is send to a sample size. In this case, it's 5,000 and 5,000, and whichever subject line has a higher open rate will automatically be the subject line that goes to the rest of the list. So if we see that the green subject line performs better, then the remaining 90,000 people will get that green subject line. The same is true for the vice versa. If blue is better, then the remaining 90,000 will get the blue subject line. Now, as a free bonus, we have 42 of our best performing subject lines on the cheat sheet of the 7,000 that we have created. So go in the description, use that, it's free. To split test subject lines on automations, first thing you're going to want to do is go over to our 42 subject lines that we already have that are proven, and then open up your automation. You're going to press create A to B split test right here. Once this is open, I would name this first one control, and then the bottom here I would do test, and then whatever the subject line is. And then here you would simply just change the subject line and additionally the preview text. Once you have both of those changed, you're going to publish that test. Day 3, perfecting campaigns. We're moving along. The first thing you're going to do is set up segmentation for campaigns. This is going to be who you are sending to. So how does segmentation work? As an example, let's just pretend that we are setting up a segment for people that viewed your website, and we have 4 people that viewed your website 1 day ago, 15 days ago, 30 days ago, and 60 days ago. If we set up a segment for the first 15 days, who will be accounted into that segment? Correct. The green and the blue guy. The orange and the pink guy will not be inside of that segment. But as we expand that window, more and more people will be accounted into it. So if we did a segment for day 30, now the orange guy is going to fall into that segment. As we expand it to 60 days, now it's going to account for everyone that is on this list here. And as you can see, each segment fits within the other one as the segments get bigger. Now, how does this apply in our situation? Whenever we are setting up our segmentation, this is exactly how you're going to do it. These are the metrics that we look at. People who have opened the email at least once in the last number of days, placed an order at least once in the last number of days, checkout started at least once in the last number of days, viewed product, and active on site. Now, these are all considered or actions. If you look in between these metrics, it says or. That means that they could do one or another. So they could click, or they could place an order, or they could view website. They only have to do one to be considered a part of this segment. These are all positive actions. They tell us that these people are very likely to engage with our emails. The same is true for Karen metrics, the people who have no good intent on our email list. So what we're looking for is people who have marked as spam 0 times over all time, unsubscribed 0 times over all time, and bounced 0 times for all time. This means that these are and metrics. That means that they have to be marked as spam and they haven't unsubscribed and they haven't bounced. They must have done none of these to be considered a part of this segment. These are negative actions. They tell us that these people haven't done any of these. Now, whenever we're creating our segments, we're going to create multiple segments by adjusting these days that are in the red box. Whenever you're creating them, you're going to adjust every single day that is in this box. You'll create 5 segments in total, which means if you're doing a 15 days engaged, you're going to make 15, 15, 15, 15, 15 for all 5 boxes, and then 30, 60, 90, 120. At the end of this, you should have 5 segments. Now, you can't duplicate a segment in order to make this done more quickly. Here's exactly how you're going to create the segments. You're going to open up Klaviyo, go to audience, and then listen segments, and then create new, create segment. From here, we're going to start with 15 days engaged, so that's what we're going to name it. Now, for the first condition, what we're going to do is do what somebody has or has not done. We're going to do opened an email at least once in the last, and we're going to do 15 days because that's the segment that we're building out. Then we're going to add a condition. This is going to be or, and then we're going to rinse and repeat this here for the next one, which is placed order. Now, the next 3 conditions that we're going to build out is checkout started, viewed product, and active on site. Let's do it. Okay, so those are all of our positive metrics. Now we're going to add all of our negative metrics. The way that we're going to do that is hit add condition and then press and instead of or. We're going to have the same exact setup here with what somebody has or has not done. And now we're going to select marked email as spam. Now we're going to change this to 0 times over all time and rinse and repeat that for unsubscribed as well as bounces. Boom. And this is what it should look like. Now from here, you could go ahead and press create segment. Now the hard part's done. We could click manage segment in the top right hand corner here and press clone segment to make this done even faster. So for the next one, we could just do 30 days engaged and then just change these dates right here. 30, 30, 30. And then we could press clone segment. Rinse and repeat that for 60, 90, and 120 days engaged. The second step of this is starting to follow a segmentation strategy. So now that you know who you're going to be sending to, you have to know which segment to choose each time that you are sending out an email. Now, thankfully, we have a very simple strategy here. If the open rates are less than 33%, we're going to make the segment smaller because that audience isn't engaged enough. If the open rates are more than 33%, then you can make the segment bigger because that means that we're not optimizing the potential. We could potentially be sending to more people. So you're going to start with 15 days engaged and then tier it up from there. If you look on the cheat sheet, there's a playbook on exactly how to do this. Here's how you use the campaign cheat sheet to figure out which segment you should be sending to. What I want you to do is put in your first campaign here. So I'm going to add the date, and then let's just say I'm sending a Black Friday, Cyber Monday campaign. Now, the first segment you are always going to be sending to is the 15 days engaged. The next day after you send it, I want you to add in the open rate. We'll add this in here, and once we add that in, it'll automatically calculate and tell me which segment I should send to next. 30 days engaged. Now for the next campaign, I'm going to add in the segment that was chosen up here and put this in. And once I have the open rate for that email, let's just say I sent an email the next day and I send that email and now it has a 20% open rate. It's going to automatically tell me, hey, send this segment next. If the open rate ends up being really high and there's more opportunity that's there, it's going to say, hey, we could send to this segment instead. There's a big old long formula that I added in there to make it automatically calculate that. So use this, it's easy. Now, the third step here is starting to send 2 campaigns per week to start building up some data. We don't know if our deliverability is getting better if we're not sending emails consistently. So in order to build up that reputation with the providers and for us to get feedback, we have to create some consistency on sending out campaigns. I would recommend with starting with 2. Now, the last thing here that I think is very important is to develop what I call a 70-30 campaign calendar using the cheat sheet. Now, what is a 70-30 campaign calendar? It is creating a mixture of value and promotion. More specifically, 30% of your emails being promotion and then 70% of them being value. Some examples of value would be an origin story, case studies, things like that. Examples of promo would be launches, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or a flash sale. The goal here is to create raving fans. I look at this through the lens of a friendship. If you have a friend that they call you every day asking you for something, you're probably not going to like them all that much. That's what happens when you send out a lot of promotions, where if you have a friend that every time you call them, they're trying to help you out and really over deliver, you would love them. That's providing value. So we want to create raving fans. Now, to break this down just a little bit further, when I consider what a raving fan is, it breaks into this formula: time times consistency times relevance. More specifically, if you give your audience content that is relevant to them consistently for long enough, you will have a raving fan. That's the reason that we chose the abandoned checkout over the Black Friday Cyber Monday campaign earlier when we were talking about smart sending, because that abandoned checkout email is more relevant to that specific customer. Here's exactly how you use that calendar cheat sheet. What I like doing is building out my calendar a month in advance, so that way I know what campaigns I have coming up. Let's just pretend that I built out this calendar right over here. So right here we have a Black Friday Cyber Monday campaign, so that's going to be obviously a promo. And let's just pretend that these are all value campaigns. And as you can see, as I'm popping this all in here, it's telling me what mixture of content I have. So currently it's 25% promo, 75% value. Well, as you can see, my current mixture of value versus promotion is 57-42. So I know I need to change that. So, okay, I'm going to swap out this one right here to be a value campaign. I should probably also swap this one out right here to be a value campaign. Okay, great. Now we're at 71.28. That's a lot better. And then as you start to get your open rates, you will be putting them in to figure out which segments you should be sending to. Now we're on to day 4, the list cleanup, and starting to pull some of those people out of your Klaviyo that is not engaging. Here's how you're going to clean up your list. When you're on Klaviyo, you're going to click on audience, then listen segments, create new, and then create segment. We're going to name this segment sunset on engaged. For the definition, we're going to select what somebody has or has not done. Received email is at least 20 times over all time. We're also going to set up a fallback condition by pressing and then what somebody has or has not done. We're going to put in opened an email 0 times in the last 120 days. And we're going to do the same exact thing for clicked emails. So clicked an email 0 times in the last 120 days. If they match all 3 of these metrics, we can be very confident that they are not engaged. We're going to go ahead and press create segment. And on this new sunset on engaged, you're going to click these 3 dots and then press suppress current members. This is going to keep the accounts in Klaviyo, but no longer make them active to receive any more email marketing. Day 5, we're cruising now. We're on to spam proof content. This is actually my favorite section because this is the one that people mess up the most. So step 1 is going to be checking your copy to remove potential spam words. Believe it or not, these spam filters are checking the quality of the content that you are sending. The more that you look like a friend versus a business, the better, which means that the words that you use matter here. If you look at this little chart, financial, privately owned funds, finance, guaranteed, please answer, ASAP. These are words that a friend would not use. That tells a spam filter, maybe this is content that the recipient might not want. So we need to check this in advance. Okay, here's how you check your copy for spam words. Go ahead and click on Mail Meteor on line 18 in the checklist, and it's going to open up this free tool for you to check your copy. You're just going to paste in all of your copy right over here. Now, once you have your copy in here, it's going to automatically tell you which words are going to potentially cause problems for you. Now, just as a caveat, this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. We just want to make it directionally less spammy. The second step here is to add alt text to your images. What is alt text and why does it matter? Whenever you add an image on Klaviyo, on the right hand side here, you can see that bottom box that says alt text. It's a brief description of your image. The reason we do this is because many email clients will block images by default. This alt text ends up being the fallback. So you could just include whatever is on the image inside of the alt text. And so if that image doesn't load, at minimum, that alt text will load. The second reason is that spam filters flag emails with a poor text to image ratio. If you have a lot of text in an image, the filter will not account for the text that's in that image. It is only looking at the text that is written directly into the email, which means that the alt tags add an additional text content and reduces how much text, or increases how much text is there and reduces that ratio between the image to text. The way you add alt tags is super easy. Anytime that you're editing an email, what you're going to do is whenever you drop in an image, it's going to give you an option to add in alt text. For example, with this image, it says, be powerful, be confident, be in control. So we could add that here. I would keep these relatively short. They don't have to be long. Third, you're going to make the unsubscribe link visible and encourage it. Why would we encourage people to use an unsubscribe link? Well, number 1, unsubscribes are required by law by the Canned Spam Act. So just do it. Number 2, recipients who don't want to receive your content only have 2 options. They can mark you as spam or they can unsubscribe. Unsubscribes are so much better. Marking as spam is a huge downvote in reputation and ultimately deliverability, where an unsubscribe is a little bit more neutral. So we want unsubscribes over people marking us as spam. Now, as an example, I pulled 2 emails from my inbox and I said, hey, let me see how easily I could find these unsubscribe links. On the left-hand side, can you find that unsubscribe link? Bingo, it's right there. That's exactly how it should be. Make it so that people can find it easy. On the right-hand side, tell me where that unsubscribe link is. You might assume that it's somewhere at the bottom. You're right, way down there. There's that huge block of text or block of white space that is literally just blank. I have no idea why they did this. This is so stupid. Literally just move up that unsubscribe. Don't hide it from people and encourage people who don't want your content to use that dang button. So that way they pull off the list and aren't marking you as spam and ruining your deliverability. Fourth, you need to do a test send with your HTML. HTML is the code that is used whenever you're making your emails look nice and beautiful and pretty. The issue with HTML is that it could get messed up very easily. So do a test send to yourself to make sure that it is actually formatted properly. If it's not formatted properly, then the email won't load. You can prevent this by just doing a test send. Send it to yourself. It takes 2 seconds. The way you'll send yourself a test email is open up a flow and then press edit on the email that you're wanting to send a test. And as soon as you pull it up, up, you'll see in the right hand corner, it says preview and test. Click on that. Again, in the top right corner, press send test and then put in your email. As soon as you hit send, you'll get an email in your inbox for you to verify. Fifth, you are going to start including less than 3 links in total per email. Now, why less than 3 links? We have found that 3 or less is the optimal amount. Any more, we see worse deliverability. Why? 1, spam emails usually have a lot of links. We don't want to look like them. We want to look like a friend messaging a friend. Your friend is probably not going to send you 30 links unless they're crazy, right? It's probably going to be 1 link or 2 links or none. So we want to keep it under 3 links. And at the end of the day, more links means analysis paralysis. Too many links can just overwhelm a recipient. If they're overwhelmed, they're going to engage less, which means ultimately worse deliverability. So keep it simple. Next, you're going to be split testing subject lines. This gives us 2 chances to make a good subject line and get a higher open rate overall. Now, we already mentioned this for automations already. We're going to be doing this for campaigns as well. Here's how. Split testing subject lines for campaigns is slightly different. What you'll do is click on campaigns and then open up the email you're wanting to create a split test for. Hit next, and then press create A to B test. Now you're gonna have 2 versions. You're gonna have the first version that you were working with, and then you could go down to the second version that you have and adjust the subject line there. As soon as you have that second variation set up, you can hit next and then schedule out that campaign for when you want it to send. All right. We're on the tail end of this. Day 6 through 30, we're going to be collecting some data. What does this mean? It means you're going to continue sending 2 campaigns per week using this segment cheat sheet to collect that data. You're also going to be following the content creation strategy to revamp your campaigns and your flows. So that means both campaigns you send each week, your welcome series, your abandoned checkout, and your customer thank you, you will be checking them for spam words, adding alt tags, making that unsubscribe link visible, doing a test send before sending it to verify the HTML is formatted properly, limiting it to 3 links, and then also split testing those subject lines. Nice and easy. Take a breath. We're almost there. Day 31, I need you to pause and ask yourself, is your deliverability good? Has it improved? It's been 30 days. If you check your deliverability and you're anywhere in this red box, 0 to 74, watch this next section, the red button playbook. If your deliverability is 75 to 100, what I want you to do is skip ahead to day 31 of perfecting deliverability. Now, let's just say that you aren't passing yet. Here is our red button playbook for a situation like this. If it has improved, skip this. I'll include timestamps in the description so you don't have to watch this and you could just go to the next section. Now, for our red button playbook, the first thing that we are going to do is run a more in-depth audit than Klaviyo provides. We're going to use a tool called MailReach. If you go to that checklist, there is a link in that checklist for you to be able to pull this up. What it is going to do is it's going to give you a list of like 30 different accounts, and you're going to send an email to that list. Some of them are Hotmail, Outlook, Gmail, business accounts, Yahoo, etc. And then it's going to tell you where you are landing for each one of those accounts. And you can see your exact performance A to Z. To run a more in-depth audit, first thing you're going to do is open up the checklist and then go to the section that says if deliverability isn't improving. The very first link you'll see in this section is called MailReach Tester. Go ahead and open that up. This is a free tool that is going to allow you to run a more in-depth audit. First thing we're going to do is export this first file. This is just going to be a CSV of all of the emails that are listed right here. Then you're going to open up Klaviyo, go to Lists and Segments, and then press Create New, Create List. Then we're going to just name this Spam Test, press Create List, and then from here, we're going to press Upload Contacts. And then we have that CSV of all the contacts that we just downloaded. All of this should already match up. Press Next, and then press Import. Now you can see that all of these contacts have been updated. Now what we're going to do is press Campaigns, and then create a campaign that is going to be used as a spam test. I would just duplicate your most recent campaign. Then from there, whenever you're selecting the audience, you're going to go ahead and select the spam test that you just built out. Now inside of your email content, you're going to go ahead and press Edit. And then they have this code right in here. You're going to copy this in and then paste it in somewhere inside of this email. This is how they're going to verify which email is for which test. Now you're just going to paste this in anywhere. It doesn't really matter. And then once you have it in there, you're going to go ahead and hit next and send off this email. Okay, my campaign is waiting to be launched. And once I have that done, I'm just going to press Get Free Spam Report. It'll take a couple minutes, but once it has loaded, it will give you these 3 options. I would select all types of inboxes. And then from there, you'll have the report on where exactly you're landing with every single email provider. But you're going to hold on to this for the rest of the red button playbook. Next, You're going to be checking blacklist. There's a bunch of different companies that have built their own blacklist that say, hey, this domain is no good. And you can land on a blacklist if you just aren't careful. And so you're going to check your blacklist and see which ones you're landing on so that way you could get yourself removed from them. To see if you're landing on any blacklist, what you're going to do is click on this blacklist checker. It's going to pull up a tool called MX Toolbox. From there, you're going to put in your domain. I'm just going to do Gymshark. From there, it's going to pull up every single blacklist that you could potentially be on. For the most part, Gymshark's actually pretty good, but this one does seem to be one that's causing problems for them. Anytime that you're on a blacklist, all you're going to do is just Google this name and it's going to pull up the website for these specific people. Now, every blacklist is slightly different, but for the most part, how they work is there's going to be an option for you to request to be removed from this blacklist. And sometimes you do have to pay. It's kind of scammy, but you just got to do what you got to do. The third step here is you're going to check if any carriers in specific are giving you trouble. So we're going to loop back to that audit and we're going to look at the different providers that we have. In this case, you can see that for Hotmail, we are getting horrible deliverability as well as for Outlook. Yahoo is fine. So if you have two carrier specific problems like this with Hotmail and Outlook, what you're going to do is you're going to filter out carriers from your campaigns. So the way that you do this is by creating a separate exclude segment for those emails in specific. Now, moving forward, you'll only send the welcome and the thank you, and you'll filter them out from the abandoned checkout in every campaign. And then you're going to wait 30 days. If it improves, sweet. The goal here is to skew the data for those providers in specific. If you're having issue with a specific provider, like in this instance, we're having an issue with Outlook, all you would do is you would open up Klaviyo and then you would go to audience and then listen segments and then press create a segment. From here, you'll name this at outlook.com and then I would also type exclude segment. The only definition you need is properties about someone and then do email, contains, and from here, you'll just put at outlook.com. and press create segment. Now, every single time that you're sending a campaign, you're going to say, hey, I'm going to send this to the newsletter, and then I'm also going to not send this to, and you'll type in exclude and press the Outlook segment. The fourth step is to add a reply request in the welcome series. Whenever we're adding a reply request, the way that I look at it is there's a lot of positive metrics that people can take on our emails. We have opens, we have clicks, and at the very top, we have replies. That's what somebody who is a friend or a business colleague would do. They would reply to your email, but usually people don't reply to business emails. So if we can encourage a reply, we're going to boost our reputation a ton very quickly. The way that you would do this is at your welcome series, you're going to put in a little piece of text like this. Reply okay to this email. It helps ensure you receive them. Simple as that. You could dress it up more and make it fancier, but it really just needs to be as simple as this. As you start to get those replies, your deliverability will improve. The next step here is to turn on double opt-in for the welcome series. Why do double opt-ins? Double opt-ins require each sender to verify that they want to be on your list. This does a few things. Number one, it eliminates bounces or invalid emails if they mistype it on purpose or on accident. It removes that completely. It also reduces spam a significant amount because they have to verify and actually say, hey, I do want this content. Now, the downside to this is that your list is going to grow substantially slower. That's why I only encourage it if you have really bad deliverability. Now, how does a double opt-in work versus a single opt-in? Single opt-ins work like this. Somebody goes to your website, they go to your pop-up, they enter their email. You say, thanks, go check your email for the discount. And then in the email is the discount. Very simple. A double opt-in is the same exact thing. Website, pop-up, enter email. You say, thanks, go check your email. And then they get an email that says, hey, confirm with me that you actually want to sign up and receive these emails. They say, yes, all good to go. And then you say, great, here is your discount. Here's how you set up a double opt-in. You're going to click on audience, then listen segments, and then type in the name of the list that you're using for your pop-up. In this case, it's my newsletter list. From here, I'm going to click these three dots and then do list settings. Once I click on consent, I'm going to scroll down and see the opt-in process, and I can switch this from a single opt-in to a double opt-in. Following this, you are going to keep following the segmentation strategy for your campaigns. Keep using that cheat sheet. It's a useful tool. Now, after this, if after more than 60 days, your deliverability problem still isn't fixed, I would look at creating what is called a custom sending domain. Less than 1% of you guys will need this in my experience. So if this is something that you need to do after following all of this, contact us. There's a link in the description, or if you just want us to do a free audit, contact us. I'm more than happy to help. We are on to day 31, perfecting deliverability. First question, Are you averaging over a 33% open rate? If not, watch the red button playbook before proceeding. Number 2 is you're going to be adding in automated list cleaning for your automations. This is going to make sure that you're pulling out people that are unengaged. So what does this look like? Number 1, you're going to be setting up what's called a sunset unengaged automation. The goal of this automation is to be a last-ditch effort before people are removed from the list. The trigger of this automation is when somebody is added to a sunset list. So we have to define what the sunset list is. That definition is somebody has received more than 20 emails over all time, and they have opened emails 0 times over the last 120 days, so 4 months. And as a fallback metric, we also have clicked an email 0 times in the last 120 days. Now, once we have that set up, this list is going to start pulling people that match these variables and adding them to that sunset list. Then they'll start to receive this automation. Now, at the very end of this automation, we're going to create a tag that says, hey, they received 2 or 3 emails from us and they still didn't engage. Therefore, they are unengaged. To set up a sunset unengaged automation, you're going to click on flows and then press create flow. Then from here, you could type in sunset in the search bar and then select the sunset unengaged standard sequence. For the trigger, we're going to set this to the sunset list that we built earlier in this video. You're going to go ahead and press create flow. These are going to be the profile filters automatically put on this flow. You're also going to add the care and spam filters, which is going to be bounced email, unsubscribed, and marked as spam 0 times over all time right here. Now, one thing to note is at the bottom of this sequence, you're going to see a profile property update. This means that after they have received all of these emails, if they still have not opened an email or clicked on the email, they are now going to get a tag on their profile that is going to mark them as unengaged. Second, you're going to be setting up what's called a win back automation. The goal of this is to win back previous customers who haven't engaged in a long time. So they did buy, but they just stopped engaging for one reason or another. The trigger of this is somebody placing an order. And we're going to add a 60-day delay. So somebody buys today, in 60 days, they will be added to this automation. We're going to filter out people who have purchased again since starting the flow, and anybody that's bounced, anybody that's marked as spam, anybody that has unsubscribed. And just as a safety precaution, anybody that has ordered in 59 days. So if they order again, they won't receive this. So that means that the only people that will be receiving this is people who bought 60 days or more and haven't bought again since. To create your customer winback flow, you're going to click on flows and then press create flow. In the search bar, you could type in winback and then select this customer winback automation. Now, I like changing this 75 days to 60 days, but it really just depends on your product. And then for our profile filters, we're also going to add bounced, marked as spam, and unsubscribed 0 times over all time, and then also hasn't ordered in 59 days. Now, the third step to this is the exciting part. You get to turn on all the other automations that you might have. So at the beginning of this video, I said, turn off everything, but your welcome series, your abandoned checkout, your thank you. And if you don't have these other ones set up yet, now's the time for you to do it. You could turn on your site abandonment, your browse abandonment, your cross-sell, all of those really big revenue generating automations you can now set up and have all of them live. You're in a good spot to be able to do that. The fourth step here is once a month, you're going to send to your entire list. So we set up all those segments, the 15, 30, 60, 90, and 120 days engaged. But still, that doesn't account for everybody. Once a month, you can open it up to all of the profiles that you have on your Klaviyo, since you'll already be pulling out the people that are unengaged anyways. Now, when you are sending to the entire list, our segments are based on that time frame, which means that once a month, if you have the good deliverability, you can send to everyone. But it is not necessary to do this all the time, because the people who are likely to engage and do re-engage, they will be re-added into those earlier engaged segments anyways. So if somebody is not on any of your engaged segments, not even the 120, and they engaged a year ago, and you send an email to them and they re-engage, now they're going to fall back into the 15 days engaged and start receiving campaigns again until they stop engaging. Now, number 5 here is going to be, if you are hitting the KPIs that I mentioned earlier with the open rates, you can add another campaign per week if you want. So you're currently at 2, you could bump it up to 3 here. Now, every month, if you are sending more than 2 campaigns a week, you need to do a checkpoint and look at those numbers. If you're not hitting that KPI of 33% open rates or more, bump it down back to 2. Now, if you are hitting KPI, you can continue to bump it up 1 every month until you're sending daily. if you want. This is optional. You don't have to do this. We have some clients that are doing $1 million a month and they send every single day. Now, every quarter, you're going to be cleaning up your list with your new unengaged list that we created earlier. To create your unengaged segment, what you're going to do is select audience, then listen segments, and then press create segment. From here, you're just going to mark this as unengaged, and then you're going to select properties about someone. Then from here, you're going to do Shopify tags, which I don't have since this is an example account, but let's just pretend that I did. Then you'll move this to is, and then make the value as true. I'll put a screenshot up so that way you can see exactly what it looks like. Now, whenever you're wanting to clean your unengaged segment, which I would recommend doing once a quarter, you will go to this segment right here, unengaged, click these 3 dots, and then press suppress current members. Moving forward, you will be using this unengaged sequence to clean your list, no longer the sunset unengaged. Now, just a couple of quick tips. Number 1, if you're moving lists from one email provider to another one, you want to make sure that you clean it up before. So if you're on MailChimp and moving to Klaviyo, or if you're on Klaviyo and moving to SendGrid, whatever, you're going to download that entire list. You're going to put it through a tool like OnBounce. Again, if you check that checklist, there is a URL for you to check it. And what that does is it's going to verify that every email on that list is still active. Any of the ones that are now inactive because it's shut down, deleted, whatever, is going to be pulled out so that way you don't have any bounces whenever you move over to the new email provider. Number 2, you can customize your unsubscribe page. So somebody doesn't want your content, they hit unsubscribe. The current setup that you will likely have is just a blank page that says, great, you're unsubscribed. You can adjust that so that they have options to determine what type of content they're receiving. And that can be a little tool that you could use to persuade some people to say, hey, I don't want all of these emails, just give me the deals or whatever they're wanting. This is really only necessary if you're dealing with too many unsubscribes. So if your unsubscribes are 2, 3, 4% plus, customize this unsubscribe page. Otherwise, I really wouldn't sweat it. Now, a couple of resources that are in the description. You have a spam-free checklist, access to these slides, all 300 of these slides. You have a campaign cheat sheet. You have 42 of our favorite subject lines out of the 7,213 that we've made. And additionally, if you want a free audit from me and my team on your spam, your deliverability, and your overall email performance, there is a link there as well. That's it. I'll see you guys next time.